The Pelicans are really trying to move off of this guy. Brandon Ingram is just someone that they want to get off the books. But who are they going to do it for? And it seems like Kyle Kuzma, until he is moved, will forever be attached to trade rumors because of how beautiful his contract is. Now they're saying maybe a Brandon Ingram for Kyle Kuzma deal could be in the works, which isn't a bad idea. Wizards don't need to extend him, Brandon Ingram, or they can keep him on the roster and let him ball out and extend him and then trade him down the road. Whatever they can do, and they probably would get assets for Kyle Kuzma because of how good his contract. But this report about Kyle Kuzma and the Pelicans is one that we're hearing. First off, that league sources told Mark Stein of the Stein Line that league sources say New Orleans remains very open to a Brandon Ingram trade discussion, and Washington Wizards' Kyle Kuzma looms as a potential difference maker whose team-friendly contract of $64.4 million over the next 3 years, and the contract is descending all the way down to $19.4 million, which means this year, every year, it becomes cheaper, the contract. Virtually ensures that the Washington Wizards will have so much interest in Kyle Kuzma just because of the value right there. As what we're hearing now, that if they can't find an Ingram trade, they would like to find some middle ground with the forward on an extension. There's obviously optimism within the building that there's two sides could come to terms on a deal that makes each happy. Obviously, Ingram wants something closer to the max. The Pelicans don't think they probably want to go further away from the max, and they're fine going into training camp without an extension, as they believe it won't be a distraction, as that's something that they prefer to avoid. The scenario certainly wouldn't make sense for the Pelicans. Finding value for him now is difficult enough, but trying to move him on an expiring contract at the trade deadline would be a nightmare. Obviously, the volatility of surrounding free agency every year. I think Brandon Ingram is a guy that it started when New Orleans made it clear that they weren't going to give him that 4-year, $208 million extension that he probably wanted. And he's probably going to get something closer to like a 3-year, $120 million deal, or a 3-year, $100 million deal. And it also turns out that Atlanta didn't have much interest in Brandon Ingram in his next contract, or even giving up one of their two centers in Clint Capella or Onyeka Okongwu in a deal when they were doing that DeJounte Murray discussions. So I think that pokes a couple paws at the straw right there. So what would a Wizards deal for Kyle Kuzma and big boy Mr. himself, Brandon Ingram, look like? First off, they're saying they want 2 first-round picks, maybe even 3 first-round picks for Kyle Kuzma. And I get it. Kyle Kuzma, that contract is really good. I mean, I've heard rumblings that they believe they can get maybe a haul as good as Mikal Bridges for Kyle Kuzma because of how good his contract is. Now, if you believe that, then you're going to hold out, because there's no point in trading Kyle Kuzma now if you know that people are going to get desperate and want to trade you the entire farm. I don't know the validity on that one, but that's what some people are making it seem like, that he's going to have a lot of value. We're going to go on the assumption that he'll cost 2 to 3 first-round picks for a team like it, especially if they're going to have to dump the contract of Brandon Ingram. And I obviously understand that people are going to be like, well, Brandon Ingram is a good basketball player, is an all-star, is a fringe all-NBA player. Yes, but he's somebody durability-wise isn't that durable. A team's rebuilding. The leverage is more in the hands of the Wizards than it is in the hands of the Pelicans. So for me, I think that's the biggest thing that people need to understand is how does this deal come down in terms of making it work for people to be interested on both sides. So 2 to 3 first-round picks, I think, is the easiest way to make this deal have some interest from the Wizard standpoint. Now, Kyle Kuzma is on a cheap contract. So how do you convince somebody who's on a cheap contract to, I guess, basically, or a team that has him, the Wizards, to trade him? Now, I look at the $36 million is like what Brandon Ingram's on, and they just waived Landry Shamet, because I think they really want to tank this year because of Cooper Flag. So, and obviously, if you're looking at Kyle, he's making 23. So that's a $13 million difference. And I don't think they're going to do, would they know you can't trade Rashawn Holmes. I'm pretty sure, would they trade Marvin Bagley? Would it be Kyle Kuzma, Marvin Bagley for Brandon Ingram and 2 first-round picks or 3 first-round picks? That'd be insane. I would do that deal. Now I'm curious just to see on paper what that deal looks like, out of curiosity, because that would definitely be interesting. Because a deal of, is that even plot? I guess this would be an easy way for the Pelicans to try to fix their center position. What if they really did? They're like, look, we're just going to run Yves Messi, Daniel Tice, and Marvin Bagley as our center rotation. Or would you guys cry in New Orleans? So the idea over here is Kyle Kuzma and Marvin Bagley. Marvin Bagley's on expiring, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. So that would interest them. Now, pick-wise, we'll assume they send them the Lakers pick next year because that's going to be a low pick. And then we'll do they'll send them the 2026 pick if that's possible. And it's Brandon Ingram who makes $36 million. Now, this deal, would it work? It would work. Technically, the Wizards would save $6,000 and the Pelicans would be taking on $6,000. But from what we're being told right now, both teams would benefit, I guess, from this deal, as they would. Technically, the Wizards are winning this deal, but that's because the Wizards had such bad numbers and the Pelicans were a playoff team. The Wizards players who are good aren't going to look like this, but Brandon Ingram and 2 first-round picks, while Pelicans get Kyle Kuzma and Marvin Bagley. I feel like there's worse deals out there that they could do, and those are 2 that actually, realistically, could be ones that help their team go from, I think really go from a team that is a playoff team to maybe one that makes some noise in the playoffs. We're seeing it more and more that, dude, bigs can really change everything for a team in the playoffs if you can match up with your size more and more in the NBA. And I think that's just something that people need to realize, that you need to be able to match up size-wise. And if you can, dude, there's a chance that you can make a run. I think we saw with the Mavericks, and teams need to follow suit.